Don't negotiate your fees. If you're an expert service provider, you provide copywriting, consulting, marketing services, something like that, and you really want to be positioned as the expert in your field at what you do, absolutely don't negotiate your fees. I'm going to tell you what you do instead in just a moment. So I was talking to a copywriter recently who's doing very well, but he was talking about moving up in fees. And as soon as he moved up in fees and was working with some pretty good clients, suddenly he was in this situation where he felt like, in order to work with these clients, I should be flexible. I should be flexible on my fees. And the challenge here is that he was actually doing exactly the opposite of what he needed to do to really make his mark and to connect with these high-level clients. When you think about working, like going to the doctor, going to a heart surgeon, going to some kind of specialist medical expert, or really experts in almost any other field, you don't show up there and be like, well, I want you to give me the best heart surgery possible, but could you work for like 25% less? Sure, there's some insurance companies that like en masse, they do negotiate fees because they're actually coming at it from a completely different angle. But if you're going to like the heart surgeon who you really want to have do your surgery because you want to survive, you don't try to negotiate that doctor's fee down. In fact, if anything, you should try to negotiate the doctor's fee up because you want them to be like enthusiastically engaged with what they're doing to help you. So there's a few ways to come at this, right? But I think kind of the overarching thing that you need to remember is something that I've talked about before. It comes out of, well, it was made popular by Oren Klaff's book, Pitch Anything, and it's prize framing. And that is when you look at the client, the project, the paycheck, the fee that you're going to earn as the prize, well, you will often give things up, give up parts of yourself. You will often compromise in order to get that prize. But if you look at yourself, your contribution, the value that you can deliver as the prize here, then what you are going to do is you're going to say, this is the prize and I need to hold strong to the value of this prize. And even when you're like working with a higher level client than you've ever worked with before, even when you're working with someone who is like a bigger opportunity for you than ever before, especially in that moment, you need to still recognize that you are the prize. You are what they need to get the result that they want. And you need to really embrace that and believe that with confidence, believe that with certainty. Because when you do that, when you believe that, when you have that confidence, when you level up and level up and level up, and at each level you say, okay, I am here to play this game, and I am here because I'm able to provide this value. When you recognize that you have that value to provide, and you're going to give it to the client, then you can really embrace the fact that the value that you provide is the prize, and you should not compromise your value through reducing your fee. And I believe that like every time you level up, it should become a new normal, but it should also become a new baseline or a new floor. So when I got started as a freelance copywriter for a couple months, like it wasn't very long, I was writing promotions for $2,000 a project plus royalties. Now the royalties actually made the potential earnings much bigger, but I was doing my projects for $2,000 a piece, and that included sales letters and order forms and emails and all that stuff, right? And then at one point I doubled that and I bumped it up to $4,000 per project. And what happened when I bumped it up to $4,000 per project was I said to clients, I am no longer going to take on work at $2,000 per project. And then I did that again from 4,000 to 5,000. And then it was a little bit, but I then went from 5,000 to 10,000. And then a little bit longer than I should have, I eventually bumped it up from 10,000 to 20,000. And here's what happened every single time. So I was still earning royalties. It was mostly what changed was the core fee that you were paying, which was the amount of money that you paid me to show up. And what happened every time was that some clients, including clients that I really liked, clients that I really liked to work with, clients whose businesses I knew, who I could provide value to, suddenly decided that they weren't able to pay my fees, despite the fact that like I'd made them many times that. Suddenly they decided, oh, I'm not willing to pay that. And so what happened after that was that basically I had to walk away. Like I had to say, as much as I like you, as much as I like to work with you, as much as I think that we could continue to create success together, if you're not willing to come up to my new floor, my new baseline, then we just can't work together. And it was a very powerful position because for many clients like that was just, we had to part ways. And we're still friends today. We're still, business acquaintances, but we don't work together anymore. But for the clients where the opportunity was there, where they could fully take advantage and recognize my value, what happened was they very quickly just leveled up with me. They said, okay, well, if that's the new floor, if that's the new baseline, we're going to join you at that floor. We're going to join you at that baseline. So what's the difference there? Like what's the core issue that has to be addressed that allows you to rise up to this new level, that allows you to like take the elevator up from $5,000 to $10,000 to $20,000? That core issue really is risk. And I've talked about this before. If you are asking a client for a fee, you are asking them to take on a risk. And it's not that you shouldn't do that. I mean, they're in business. Whenever they hire somebody, it's a risk. Whenever they launch a new product, it's a risk. Whenever they do anything, honestly, in business like entrepreneurship is the process of dealing with risks on a daily basis and embracing risks and moving forward, acknowledging risks, right? So when they're hiring you, they are taking a risk. They're taking a risk by giving you money in exchange for whatever expert service that you are providing. And so the question is, are you more or less risky at $5,000 per project versus $20,000 per project? And part of why I was able to move up so quickly to actually multiply my project fee 10 times as a freelance copywriter was because I was actually more risky to hire when I was charging $2,000 per project than $20,000 per project. Now that was for a couple reasons. One is I was learning quickly. I was gaining experience, and I was more effectively writing profitable promos pretty much every time out of the gate. Not always, but I have a fairly high win ratio in terms of making clients many times what they invest in working with me. So as I was developing those skills to be able to do that, the risk of working with me went down. And because the risk of working with me went down, it was easier and easier for me to justify the higher fees. Now, the other thing that happened is I was working with bigger clients. I remember going to a dinner and like meeting this copywriter and telling her about one of the clients that I was working with. And she said, yeah, I worked with him once, and he's a good guy, but like he just isn't a big enough client for me. And it was kind of like a wake up moment for me because I was working with him at that point and he felt like a pretty big client to me. But I recognized that the bigger you go in terms of who you're working with, like the less risk there is in, say, a $20,000 project or a $100,000 project. For different size businesses, those amounts mean different amounts. And so one client, it may actually be cheap to invest $100,000 to get somebody to create a marketing campaign for them. Another client, it may feel like it costs a fortune to get someone to pay someone $20,000 to get them to create a marketing campaign for them. And so, like, looking at different clients, looking at what you are doing to ensure results. These are ways that you can mitigate risk for the clients. The other thing that I think that you need to do is you need to convey, again, going back to that prize frame, if you are the prize, you need to convey your certainty that you are able to get them the result that you promise. And so if you're creating, for example, a direct response marketing campaign, like a lot of people who follow my work do, it's one thing to just write a certain chunk of copy or put together a certain campaign or design a certain landing page or whatever. It's another thing entirely if your fee represents, hey, I'm going to work with you to make this a winner. And as long as you keep testing it, we're going to keep putting effort into it. We're going to keep putting work into it to allow us to learn from the market and to develop and optimize and actually make this campaign a winner for you. So if the certainty of result is I'm going to deliver you a piece of copy, well, your fee might be lower than, and the fee you can justify might be lower than if the certainty of result is, hey, I'm going to create a winning marketing campaign for you. Which of those would you rather invest in? Like, I'm going to buy somebody's Word document full of 10,000 words, or I'm going to buy a profitable marketing campaign that I can build and scale from. Well, of course, if you are delivering that certainty of result, like, hey, I'm going to keep working with, if you remain serious about implementing, testing, taking the copy that I send you, not like copy that you barf all over in the cutting room, right? But copy that I send you based on my expertise that I believe is going to work best. If I continue to deliver that, as long as you keep testing, we will create a winner. And we may do okay out of the gates. We may actually create the winner out of the gates. Sometimes that happens. Or we may have to go through a couple iterations, a couple tests, and figure out what's working, what's not, and how we can improve and optimize until we have that point where we're able to spend $1 and it's bringing back $1.50, $2 on day one. And from there, the customer relationship is pure profit, right? Even better if you kind of mix these things. You mitigate risk. You become good at what you do, and you choose to offer that certainty of result by being willing to work until you create success, not just working until a piece of copy is done, until a chunk of work is done. Even better than all of that is to actually make sure that you are focusing on the best possible prospects who are able to invest in your fees and have them not feel like a fortune. You can't necessarily go too high. I mean, if somebody is used to paying $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 per campaign or funnel for these top copywriters and experts, somebody who comes in and says, well, I write copy for $5,000, there's not an advantage there. And so you have to be moving up into that range. But the more that you move up into a certain range in terms of your ability to deliver results, the better prospects you can work with and the easier it becomes for them to pay your fees. Now, even when you do that, if you have one deal that you have to close or two deals that you have to close, you are going to feel much more desperate than if you do what it takes to build a deal flow that is far beyond what you are able to fulfill. So if you imagine it like a game of musical chairs, you want to have like one chair and 2, 3, 4 people circling it for that one chair for when the music stops playing, So they feel the desperation. If you have one person in one chair, there's no desperation, and it's easy for them to ask for you to negotiate fees. But if you have 2, 3, 4 clients, potential clients, prospects that are in the pipeline with potential projects who are interested in working with you, and your fee feels high, but they recognize, he's busy or she's busy, and I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get him or her unless I just jump on it. Well, you're going to be in a much better situation there. So the more that you can improve deal flow, the more that you can get prospects in your pipeline, the more people that you can be talking to, the more prospects you can be talking to, the more opportunity that you have at your disposal, the easier it then becomes to, again, treat yourself like the prize and say, hey, if you're not willing to pay my fee, I have other people that I'm going to go to. Now, this is called takeaway selling. This is like Dan Kennedy's famous for this, but it goes back way before Dan, and it exists way beyond Dan. That if you are able to say, like, hey, I don't need you. I would love to work with you. I see the opportunity in working with you. I think we could create awesome success together. And yes, I'm willing to do the work that it's going to take to get there. But I don't need it because I can go to your competitor. I can go to this business in this other niche. I can go here. I can go there. I can go everywhere. And they all want and need me. And I've got people lined up. Well, if you're not willing to pay my fees, like, I'll just go. And that's okay. And like, that was where I was at. Every single time that I raised my fees, I was afraid. I was afraid that if I just stuck to my guns and asked for more, that I wouldn't get those clients, that I wouldn't get those opportunities. But a funny thing happened because when I got to a point with a client where I didn't get that client, where they said, well, it just isn't working for me. Because I did everything that I've just talked to you about. I had another one behind them and another one behind them and another one behind them. And I've had more client work than I've wanted since I don't remember. It's been a very long time. And this whole thing, like, you have to recognize that the moment you start having your fees, your payment agreements, your project deals, whatever you're going to call them, be flexible, that's the moment that you're taking away all of your power in the relationship with the client. And it's not just going to impact your fee and your deal. It's actually going to impact everything. If you want to be an expert, but you're willing to like negotiate down prices, they're also not going to respect your copy or creative work that you do for them or whatever you're doing in the project. They're not going to respect your advice. They're not going to actually like have faith that you are the expert, that you are the prize, because you told them not to. You told them not to respect you. You told them not to respect your work. But if you don't negotiate your fees and instead you find the ways to de-risk the transaction as much as possible. I'm not saying guarantee your work, because you can't guarantee that they're not going to screw everything up. But do other things to de-risk the transaction. And then focus on maximizing your deal flow, the potential projects that you have in the pipeline. Then you can stick to your fee. And you can walk away from the clients who aren't willing to pay it. And you can enjoy the wonderful relationships that you end up having with the clients that are willing to pay it. Now, if you'd like to learn more from me, I've included a link in the description to my training site where I have all sorts of training for copywriters, marketers, consultants. You can also like this video, and that tells the magical YouTube algorithms that you like content like this and that you'd like more from me. You can also comment your takeaways, your experience. Do you disagree with me? Am I giving you terrible advice, or is this exactly what you need today? You can share the video with other people who might find it valuable, and you can subscribe. There's a link in the description to do that. Also, there's a link to go to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com where you can get my daily emails, sometimes video, sometimes articles, all sorts of great content for marketers, copywriters, business builders, entrepreneurs, consultants, about all of those topics and about growing yourself to grow a better business. And again, check out my training site. If you are a consultant, a copywriter, agency owner, someone who charges fees for your expertise, for your expert services, because there's a lot of content for you there. My name is Roy Furr. This has been a video issue of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again in our next video. I'll see you soon. Bye.